So the media storm and the Twitter blitz that ensued with the first Sharknado, from having a father that was a journalist and being exposed to that industry, what tips did you take away from him or observe from him that helped you handle that viral success?
Interesting. I think growing up with a journalist's father and a very proper British mother, I don't know that they actually prepared me for the specifics of how I handled the explosion of interest after Sharknado. But what they did was they gave me a well-rounded and worldly perception. I was exposed to a lot of different stuff as a kid, not just the little slice of life that I would otherwise have grown up in. My father was also a professional wine critic. So we not only did we have our middle-class life in New York City, not only was I exposed to, you know, ideas regarding the world and politics and all that stuff, but we also traveled in some social circles well above our actual financial standings, because as a wine critic, you're sort of forced into the upper echelons of society. So I really got to see how not just the other half lived, but how all the different halves lived. And I think just having sort of a well-rounded perception helped keep me from getting too overwhelmed during the attention blitz that followed the release of Sharknado. And the other thing really that I credit is simply that I had spent 20 years trying to get into this business. If this had happened, if Sharknado had happened when I was in my mid-20s, when I came out here intending for something like this to happen, I'd probably be so screwed up right now. I'd probably be a raging egomaniac. But years of being humbled, you know, being beaten down, sort of, banging my head against doors that wouldn't open for me, I think has helped me keep a level head during all of this. That and the fact that things like this just don't happen. And for this to happen even once is an incredible blessing, and there's sure as hell no way I could expect it to ever happen again, so I had to take maximum advantage of it. When you get an opportunity, you've got to take it for all it's worth. So if I had just let this go to my head and I'd gone off and become, you know, like a Hollywood party person, instead of buckling down and doing every interview I could and taking every meeting I could, getting an agent, making the most out of this professionally that I could, and trying to keep my own sense of self in check and intact, was vitally crucial to my perception of my future progress and future happiness. I'd been working to become an overnight success for 20 years, and here was my opportunity. So if I screwed this up, I'd just have to, you know, blow my brains out or something. So I couldn't allow myself to be overwhelmed or to get carried away. And mind you, I've been a bit overwhelmed and a bit carried away. But I've been able to temper that. You know, and sometimes doing a lot of press, that whole first week after Sharknado came out, it's just a blur. That night was the most surreal experience of my life. And then the next morning when I started getting calls for interviews, and 2 days later I was shooting a segment for Good Morning America. I mean, you know, things like this don't happen. And so I've just tried to enjoy it. But at the same time, friends look at me and say, why aren't you partying? Why aren't you jumping for joy? Why aren't you just going nuts? And I am. But it's on the inside. I'm trying to maintain some kind of equilibrium because I know that I have to make the most of this that I possibly can if I want to do and be what I always said I was going to do and be.